Hey everyone, and welcome to the Ask Nicole weekly live stream. My name is Nicole, and I run a marketing company. Actually, it's 14 years old as of this month. And basically, during these weekly live streams on Tuesday mornings at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time, I like to address topics related to marketing and tech, mainly with the small business owner in mind. If you want to watch any past broadcasts, you can scroll back wherever you're watching this now. There are more videos from the past. But if you want a kind of more centralized list, I recommend going on YouTube because we can make playlists there. Also, please leave a comment if you have any questions that I should address, or if you have ideas for future videos. I'm always open to those. So today's video is a little bit of a, let's step a little bit back here and talk about something that's a bit introductory, but I think could be helpful for some people if they're thinking about this, which is monetizing content. Now, the idea of monetizing content is not new. And if you're the kind of person who writes regularly on your website or you make regular videos, probably someone has said you should monetize that content. And you might have some idea of what your options are, but you might like to see kind of some examples. And that's what today is all about, is giving you options so that you can see which ones resonate well with you. Now, the first thing I will say is that, bloggers were the original content creators, influencers, whatever you want to call it. And there is an example that I like to pull up. It's a little bit older because he doesn't do this anymore. But this guy named Darren Rouse, he is let me hide myself here. He's a blogger and he would make his full-time income blogging. But what he did is he did these monthly and these sort of multiple times a year income breakdowns. Now, we don't see here how much money he makes, but we see what percentage of his income comes from these different activities. So this guy's full-time occupation is blogging mainly about photography. He also had a blog about blogs, but the photography blog, I think, was his main thing. And as you see, he's making money not just one way. He doesn't have one person paying him to do stuff. He has income coming in a variety of ways. And the reality is that most content creators work this way. So you might follow someone on YouTube who does, I don't know, commentary video about 90 Day Fiance. And part of you wonders, what did I do wrong that I'm living this life where I'm not making a full-time living snarking on 90 Day Fiance? But another part of you is thinking, how does this person make a full-time living? So the first thing I'm going to say is we have to understand that some of these people have some circumstances that we don't necessarily know about. They might have, say, some income coming from other places. They have a full-time other job. They're independently wealthy. They live with their parents, and so they don't have like some overhead expenses that some of us who don't live with our parents do. So point being is like, whatever you're looking at, understand that if you're looking at someone, we can't assume they're making like $10,000 a month just making YouTube videos. They are likely doing a variety of activities. And so what I want to do is go through what those things are and show an example from my own life, because that's what I feel most comfortable. Now, I will say I have not tried to make a full-time living making content. I've always wanted to kind of be Oprah and want people to just pay me to have opinions on things. But the reality is I'm just a regular person. And so I've understood that I've had to develop some of their skills here. So you will look at these and not necessarily be impressed with the numbers, but they are an example of how they could work, especially if you went in kind of full time and full board with it. So the first option that you have is what I'm calling sponsored content. And so if you have a platform, you have a website, you have a YouTube channel, you have an Instagram account, whatever, a company might approach you or you might approach a company to get paid to post something. And, usually that's something that you might create or they might create. And, in terms of like the power you have, you might have some editing or some veto power. So, if it was something that you were really morally opposed to, you probably wouldn't post it, right? And typically, this content, it has some kind of visual separation between your what's called organic or unpaid content and then this content. You have to disclose that you're being paid. First of all, it's less gross that way. But second of all, like people need to understand, it is your obligation to disclose that you're being paid for something. So an example of this is hold on, I can't apparently click and talk at the same time. Oops. Oh my goodness, 1 second. All right, let's reshare this. So this is an example on a website that I own. And what we did is we worked with a local ghost tour provider, and we did this sponsored post about how these different places are haunted on Mount Desert Island. And in turn, they made these banner ads they wanted us to link to. So if you click on them, that goes to their site. We also, if you look at the very top, had this little, thing here that you can go to their website as well. So this is sponsored content. They paid us to write it. And the idea was that they got a presence on our website in front of our audience. They got distributed. It gets distributed via our email list to people who subscribe. And they get a link back to their website. And ideally, they get some traffic and people who will maybe buy something. So over time, like, this is kind of a nice thing to do because, it's not like it was a giant ad for the haunted tour, but there was like sort of content people would be interested in otherwise, and it mentioned the tour obviously as part of the content, but it wasn't like reading a giant infomercial. So a sponsored post ideally is something that has some content that the person might care about. It's not just a full-on advertisement. So you might see sponsored content on a website, and that's what it means. And as you see in the title and in the description, it is visually different than the other blog posts on this website because we have to disclose that we're being paid when we do these sort of things. So sponsored content, I think we're going to see more of it on kind of niche, smaller influencers. So like if you have somebody locally who does a really good job on their Instagram and you have, I don't know, a fashion boutique in that particular town, it's worth maybe approaching them and seeing if you might want to work with them. They would probably be open to that. I think we're going to see more and more stuff like that, not just on national and international websites, but on much smaller scale websites as well. So sponsored content is a way that you can go, and you can decide what the pricing is. You can decide how frequently it gets posted, but you do, like I said, have to visually separate it from the other content, whether it's in your Instagram feed or whether it's on your website. It should, once people look at it, they should understand that this is sponsored content or this is a paid post or however you want to put it. Now, another way to make money is something called affiliates. So an affiliate link is, so let's say that, you basically agree to post about a product or service. And when someone makes a purchase with a special code or link, you get either a flat fee or percentage of the sale. And Amazon affiliates, I think, are something that people are pretty familiar with, but there's lots of other affiliates as well. And they can really vary by how much they pay. So for example, we were affiliate with the stand sit desk company that we got our desks for at Anchor Space, and people would come in, use the desks and be like, "Oh, can I just go buy one on their site for my house?" So after the 10th time this happened, I just emailed the company and I said, "Hey, listen, I feel like I'm your showroom." So they created an affiliate program and we get $50 when someone buys from the link. And I think we've made about $500 in affiliates off of that. And it's not like a giant form of revenue or something, but just, it's somebody that, it's a product we liked and it was a product that we were able to refer in person. And I also thought I would show, we have an affiliate post on the same website. It's so funny. They changed the way that we share things on the streaming software. One second. It's like it doesn't go from tab to tab like I expect. So here is, a blog post. We just got together 100 books that take place in Maine and we divided them by genre. Oh, really? It's not going to show me scrolling, huh? Interesting. So every book here, fine, is linked to Amazon, and we do get, I think, 2 or 3% from the sale. We did look into working with a local bookstore, but they didn't really have anything set up like that, which understandable. But if you are thinking of setting up a program like this, people do, appreciate, like I said, it took a while to kind of pull that stuff together and, write descriptions for all of them and then obviously promote the blog. So it's nice to get a little something if you're going to send the traffic somewhere else. So, that's the thing with affiliates is that, like I said, it can vary really widely. So $50 for a desk sale, obviously the desk is, I think it was $500 or $600, is a little bit, they can pay a little bit better than say like something on Amazon. But, I do want to note too that if you do see something, and this is a little PSA, if you're an Etsy, I love Etsy, but if you see an Etsy ad for a product and click on it, and then if you end up buying that product from the Etsy ad within 30 days of having seen the ad, they actually take 30% of the profit from the person who's selling. So what I do is I just make a note of what it is, and then I type it into a search engine and go to it directly, so that the person who has created the product can keep more of that money. But just wanted to mention that was something I learned about relatively recently. But an affiliate program could be nice if if you sell, if you work, like let's say people might say, oh, what kind of microphone do you use for your live stream, or what kind of camera do you use, or something like that. It's an easy way for me to like make a recommendation and maybe get a little bit of money from it. Again, I have to kind of disclose when the relationship is in place. It's only fair. Now, a third way to make money online is something memberships, or I'm just calling this kind of exclusive access to something. So you produce something, whether it's, bonus content on your YouTube channel, whether it's courses, whether it's, a membership, a Facebook group where people talk about a certain topic and people pay to access it. And I've noticed that YouTube in particular has been really pushing memberships pretty hard in their advertising. And I think that they want more of the consumers to the audiences to start paying for the content versus them. They're like, oh, support your favorite creator by becoming a member. And it's like, okay, is that you just don't want to pay for it? Like, that's fine. Um, so, so like a membership example would be the fact that we have online courses on the Anchorspace website, and people are members of Anchorspace. They can access the courses, and we have a variety of them available for. I don't know why this. Okay, it's not scrolling. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to go back to this. Okay, so we have a variety of courses that are available, and if people are members of Anchorspace, they can access them, and they can. I think we have about 25 on there right now. So I was trying to add new ones too. So point being is that by being a member of Anchorspace, by paying a monthly fee, people are able to access this additional content that is created and that is only available to them. So it's a way of kind of rewarding people who regularly support you. And like I said, I'm definitely seeing a trend toward these websites, not necessarily wanting the individual people watching these channels to pay the creators themselves through these membership options. So I think we'll just see more of that in the future. Now, a fourth way to make money is what I'm calling kind of display advertisements. So essentially, if you have a website or something, you can rent out space on your website for people to, display advertisements, almost like digital billboards. And, you do have a lot of control. You can block certain websites or certain content if you want to. You can even block a specific URL so that, somebody can't advertise on the site. And the reality is, like, these don't pay awesome. I mean, I think they could if you got a lot of traffic, and the thing is, if you get a lot of traffic, you can apply to some kind of more exclusive ad networks that pay better. But kind of Google AdSense will sort of take anybody, from what I can tell, as long as you're not, I guess, completely creepy. But as you see here, yes, that is 63 cents that I've earned over the last month on AdSense. So thankfully, I'm not supporting myself full time with Google AdSense. But like I said, there are platforms that definitely pay better, and you do have control over what advertisements display on your website. So it's something to definitely look into. If you've worked really hard to drive traffic to your website, you might as well throw a banner ad on there and make a little bit of money if that's something you feel like aligns with, the content you're trying to create in the strategy of making money online. A fifth way to make money online is using creator marketplaces. So the idea is that you create content, and the content isn't just photos and video, but it could also be Photoshop presets. There's also like websites like Teachers Paying Teachers, where you can upload kind of worksheets and curriculum and things like that, and you sell them on websites. And what I did for fun a few years ago was I uploaded, and I'm not a professional photographer. If you've ever followed me on Instagram, you know that. But I decided to just throw up some pictures on a stock photo website that promised to pay me. And I thought I would show you how much money I've made over the last 4 years on it. Be prepared to be amazed. Just hold on to your seats. That's right. I've made $8 selling photos. And again, I've taken them from my smartphone. They're not with a fancy camera or anything. But yeah, there's ways that if you create content, you can sell it online. And again, if you're more intentional about it, you could probably make probably more than $8 in 4 years on it, am guessing. But like I said, think of content beyond like photos and video and stuff. And you can also think about creating specific resources for specific groups of people. And, people are definitely willing to pay for that, especially if you're going to save them a lot of money or time, because there's a lot of content out there and people want good content, which we totally understand. And, we don't have any control of who purchases the content. And, a lot of it is about like search stuff. So, for example, when I uploaded the photos, they asked me to tag the photos. And again, if you're kind of a lazy person, right here, you might not feel like writing like 100 relevant tags for each photo. But obviously, if you take the time to do that, you're going to come up in search. So, search is important for this kind of thing because if people can't find your thing, they can't buy it, whatever that thing is. And the final way to get paid is by the platform itself. As if you're uploading content to a third party place, you will get paid. And I just counted social media sites here like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. They all have some version of a creator fund where people are admitted into it and then get paid based on how many views the thing gets. And you can also think about this as a third party website that is not a social media site. So, for example, I've been approached by an online course marketplace saying, hey, if you want to take your courses and put them on here, we'll sell them and give you 50% of the money. So sometimes, these platforms, they don't have to be social media platforms. They can be other platforms as well. And, the pros of this is that like these big companies are paying you. And the cons are that it's similar to the very impressive AdSense revenue that you guys saw a second ago. So, if you want some, I guess, an interesting sort of perspective on this, I find it's neat to see people who do make a full-time creating content. Like I said, they're not making a full-time doing one thing, making YouTube videos about 90 Day Fiance. They're making money creating content in a variety of ways on a variety of platforms. And, a good, and there's lots of people who do this. This is an interview with Hank Green, who is the brother of John Green, who's the young adult author. Hank Green is also an author. So he's written a few books and sells them as part of his revenue stream. But he's been creating content online since or at least for more than 10 years. Him and his brother were the Vlog Brothers on YouTube. They were one of the first kind of bigger YouTube channels. And then ever since then, he's been, changing platforms and changing strategies because you can't be doing the same thing online that you were 15 years ago because it's just not going to work. So, what can we take away from all of these examples that I've gone over? Well, first of all, we need multiple income streams if we're going to make content online. We might have to sell content. We might have to create exclusive content in different formats. We might have to be on multiple platforms. We might sell things like merchandise or something like that that's completely unrelated to content, but can be attached to, say, a YouTube channel. So it's important, like I said, the Darren Rouse income streams are kind of interesting to look at. And I think there might be some other people who have sort of income breakdowns. So if you look at influencer income breakdowns or blogger income breakdowns, that could give you an idea of how these people make money. They might not say, oh, I made $2,000 doing this, but they might do a percentage or let you know that, part of their income comes from X, Y, or Z, which is helpful to know. The second thing is that, you end up, yes, you want to talk about 90 Day Fiance on YouTube, but part of you doing that involves you making a compelling YouTube thumbnail. It involves you writing a description so that you come up in search. So there are certain kind of related skills that you end up having to develop, even if you just want to make content. And, they seem to be, related to sort of design, editing, that kind of thing. So giving people so that, your lighting is nice, so that you sound good, that kind of thing. You have to give some thought into production value. And you have to think about kind of how are people going to find you, which is using whatever, either the search box on YouTube or the search box somewhere else, or whether it's they're going to visit your social media and end up kind of consuming your content from there. So these things do matter. And you'll notice if you scroll back, find your favorite like, I don't know, influencer, YouTube personality, whatever, and scroll back and look at one of their first couple of videos, you'll see that their design and search engine stuff have really stepped up as they've gotten more into it. Because the reality is that if you write a blog post, if you write a 600-word blog post, that's awesome. You put in the same amount of work whether 10 people read it or 10,000 people read it. So it's in your best interest to make it look good and then to get it distributed. And I would say that, sort of the marketing skill sets and the design skill sets end up being really useful here. You end up having to do them at least a little bit if you're going to create content. So, or if you have money, you can just hire people to do it, and that's fine. But most people, like when they're starting off, don't necessarily have that. Now, the third thing I want to say is that, or if you're going to do this, if you're running a marathon and not a sprint, like if you're like me looking back, 14 years ago, and I was like, I'm going to do this full time the rest of my life. Like that's what I want to do. You're going to have to, move platforms. You might have to change your content strategy. You will have to learn new skills. Like I wish I could have just like spent 2 years learning stuff and then just coasted the rest of my life. But the reality is that, if you're into content creation, you have to be open to being flexible. How are people, viewing your stuff? What places seem to be more popular now than they were before? And you can't do everything. So you'll have to make decisions about how to move forward. And if you're going to, like I said, do this full time or relatively full time, you're just going to have to be flexible. And, like I said, I wish I could have just learned a bunch of stuff and coasted, but sadly, it's, there is some work behind it, even if you do get to wear fuzzy slippers while you're doing it. And then finally, I think something that's interesting to keep in mind is that if you create content, any piece of content you create, this could be the first video of mine you've ever seen, like the video that you're watching right now. You might be like, who is this person? I don't know anything about it. And so every video or every piece of content, every, blog entry or whatever, you have to kind of reintroduce yourself in a sort of succinct way because, I'm not Oprah. Again, I don't expect people to really care about what I'm trying to say. And you can have multiple things that you're interested in and still introduce yourself in a succinct way. And I'm going to use an example of someone that I follow on TikTok, who is Katie Soros. I think that's what she goes by. But I'm just going to show you her Twitter bio and pinned tweet so that you see what I'm talking about. And mental health advocate, ADHD, Minecraft, certified sex educator. So we see that it's not like she's necessarily specializing in one particular thing, but we have an idea of what I think she goes by what she's all about. And it's important if someone is thinking about approaching you as a content creator, they want to sponsor a post on your website or whatever, that they have a really good idea of like what your content is like without having to sit and watch like 25 hours of video. So, that entry point I think is really key. And that's why any kind of content creator you watch on a regular basis, they give a little synopsis at the beginning of every video they make, or it's on the very top, like their Instagram bio is really succinct because they want people to get what they're about right away. And, you might not have that succinct thing right away, but you'll get to it. So those are all your options about monetizing content. You might look at them and say, well, I feel kind of icky about sponsored posts, but I kind of like the display ad thing because I can sort of put them where I want them to be and choose what they are. It could be that you think, oh, you know what? I just want to make more content. And so I can just exclusively offer that to a few people and sustain myself that way. And that's totally cool. But there is ways of making money off of your content. For most of us, it is part of our income stream, but it is not our entire income stream. We might use our platforms to book speaking engagements. We might use our platforms to get book deals. We might use our platforms to do other things. The content does make money, but in addition to that, opens the door to other possibilities. So I know in 2022, we're all looking to make a little bit of extra money. And the good news is you're in a couple of these, you might be asking people to pay a little bit. But in most of these cases, you can get companies or, sort of larger organizations to help sustain the content that you're creating. And you're helping make the internet a better place because typically content that people are thinking about monetizing is something they're going to put a little bit more effort into. And as more and more content gets put out there, people are going to be looking for better content, and they're going to be willing to pay for it. And we've definitely have seen that. And I should have put there's a really great Kevin O'Leary video. I'll link it in the description when I post this. But essentially, what he's saying is, I thought I could basically hire starving artists to make me content, and now I used to tell people to just get an engineering degree, and that was going to be your best paying degree. But now I'm telling people that if you can tell a story, if you can edit video, if you can write, suddenly you're getting paid more than you ever had before, because companies need that skill set. So I'll link to that. I'll link to that Kevin O'Leary video. I'm not a huge like Mr. Wonderful fan, but I thought coming from it was not the kind of, I guess, take I expected coming from somebody from a traditional, maybe lightly exploitive media background like him. So be open to monetizing your content. It can be part of your income stream. You can eventually ramp it up to full time if you want to, but it's definitely a labor of love that you that you have ahead of you. And like I said, I've been doing it to some extent for 14 years now, and I really like it, and I love trying new things. So if you do try monetizing something and you're watching this video, I hope you come back and leave a comment, or at least reach out to me, because I'd love to talk to you and see kind of what you did, how you did it, and all that. That might be really interesting for people. Again, thanks so much for watching. My name's Nicole. Feel free to reach out on our website, wherever you're watching this, if you want to talk about your business or your nonprofit and how you can do more online. And I will see you next week. Have a great rest of your day, and take care of yourself.